Hey guys, welcome to week 2 of the Open. I'm super excited about this workout. This is truly the magic of the Open because we have a lot of people that may be trying to get their first pull-up for the first time, their first chest to bar, or their first ring muscle up. So this is what the Open is all about. Our workout for today is a 4-time piece. We have 80 dumbbell overhead walking lunges, 80 foot, then 20 alternating dumbbell snatches, 20 pull-ups, then we go back to the 80-foot dumbbell overhead walking lunge, 20 alternating snatches, 20 chest to bar pull-ups, back to the 80-foot dumbbell overhead walking lunge, 20 alternating snatches, and then ends with 20 ring muscle ups. There is a time cap of 15 minutes. If you don't get through the workout under the time cap, you're going to record your reps, and then you are going to enter in your time into the notes into Wodify. So the stimulus and feel of this workout, pacing is going to be super important. We never want to get to a point where we're redlining in the workout because our goal for this workout is to get to our hardest pulling motion and try and get as many reps as we can within that time cap. So our RX dumbbell for this workout is 50-35. Our scaled option is 35-20 on the dumbbell. For the pulling motions, we have jumping pull-ups to start, then we go to pull-ups, and then we go to chest to bar pull-ups. For our masters, the dumbbell goes to 35-20, and then our scaled masters is 20-10, and the pulling motions are jumping pull-ups, jumping chest to bar, and then ends with pull-ups. Our foundations piece is 35-20. However, with the dumbbell, you may adjust the weight to a dumbbell you feel comfortable using or body weight on the lunges. For the pulling motions, we got bent over rows, ring rows, and then jumping pull-ups. All right, guys, so for the overhead lunge, I'm going to go over what we need to see for that lunge. I'm gonna have Coach Nick show us a good rep, and then I'm gonna go over some common no reps, and then he'll show a no rep. So a couple of things with the lunge. They must be completed in the 20-foot increment, unbroken. There is no requirement to switch your hands at any point. However, if you do choose to switch your hands, it cannot be in the middle of the section. You need to pass the line completely before you can switch your hands. You do not have to bring the feet together in between each rep. However, if we are walking through to the next rep, we need to see that hip extension with each rep. You are also, or must have a full grip on the dumbbell, and you are not allowed to use your gymnastic grip, so you just have to turn them around while you're holding the dumbbell. Both feet must pass the line before you can bring that dumbbell down. If at any point you put the dumbbell down in the middle of the section, you need to restart that entire 20-foot increment section. So Coach Nick's gonna show us a rep, holding that dumbbell overhead. Knee touches the ground, full hip extension with each rep. So some common no reps with the overhead lunge. One, the knee is not going to make contact with the floor. That would be considered a no rep. Another no rep, the elbow can bend, however the dumbbell must remain over the head. So if at any point it goes below the head or touches down on the shoulder, that would be considered a no rep. Lastly, another no rep would be if you're doing the walking through each rep, not showing the hip extension each time. Lastly, your dumbbell, you must pass both feet over the line before you can bring that dumbbell down. So Coach Nick is gonna show us a couple no reps. So the first one, knee is not gonna touch the ground. Good, not touch the ground. Next one, he's going to walk through and not show hip extension. Good. And then the next one, the dumbbell's gonna come down below his head. And then the last one, he's gonna come to the end here, and his one foot is gonna pass over. He brings the dumbbell down. That would be considered a no rep. Again, you must complete the entire section if you get a no rep at any point. All right, for the dumbbell snatch. For a good rep of a dumbbell snatch, we want to make sure that we are alternating with each rep. That is a must. It doesn't matter where you switch hands. You can switch it up here, you can bring it down here, or you can bring it to the floor and switch. However, the dumbbell, both heads of the dumbbell must touch the ground for each rep, okay? Dumbbell snatch. All the way up, he shows extension, in between each rep. Good. So some common no reps for the dumbbell snatch. One head of the dumbbell touching only. So Coach Nick's going to show us that. That would be considered a no rep. Resting one hand on the knee. This would also be a no rep. You cannot rest your hand on the knee. Lack of hip extension, arm extension, knee extension. Not extending the knees, not opening up the hips, and show arms.
No, show arms, guys.
Good. And then also for this movement, there are no gymnastic grips allowed, so they must be turned around when you're doing this. All right, guys, standards for the pull-ups and the chest to bar. Both movements need to start with your arms fully extended at the hanging position. For our pull-ups, we need to get our chin clearly over the bar. For our chest to bar, we need to make contact with the chest, or it needs to be below the collarbone. So Coach Nick's going to show us a good pull-up and a good chest to bar.
Together, right?
Yeah, you can. So full extension at the bottom. Good. Some common faults with the no rep would be not getting the chin over the bar or not making contact with the chest, and starting with that lack of full extension of the elbow. So no full extension, chin doesn't pass the bar, and then no contact with the chest to bar. Standards for the jumping pull-up and jumping chest to bar. In the setup, the athlete's head must be 6 inches below the bar when they're standing tall on the box. Each rep must start with full extension, so they will bend their knees to get that full extension before jumping over the bar. Chin must pass over for a jumping pull-up. For the chest to bar, we want to again make contact with either the chest or just below the collarbone for the rep to count. So some good reps of jumping pull-ups, full extension at the bottom, chin over bar. Show me some no reps, not getting the chin over the bar or not making contact with the chest.
Chest to bar.
All right, so for the ring muscle up, we must start with the arms fully extended in the hang position. At some point, you must pass through a dip portion of the ring muscle up before we extend the elbows at the top. We must show that full lockout of the elbows. Our shoulders must end directly or slightly in front of the hands. So we're gonna start with our elbows locked out. Good. Pass through the dip and full extension at the top. Some common no reps that we would see is starting with our elbows bent. So if we're going with a false grip today, we need to make sure that we extend the elbows even in that false grip position. There, good. That would be a no rep. At any point during your kip swing, the feet cannot pass above the bottom of the rings. Not fully extending the elbows at the top, so showing a no full lockout. And that pushback, right? No early pushback on the rings. We need to show the shoulders slightly above in that lockout position before we push back into the next rep. So guys, after just completing the workout myself prior, I have some notes and some tips and strategies for you all. Just a quick note on the tie break time, your judge is going to be recording your time at the end of each set of snatches. So whichever set of snatches was last, that would be your recorded tie break time. Some tips. So knowing your gymnastic capacity is going to be huge today. So for instance, if you're aiming for your first chest to bar, I would strongly advise that you break up your pull-ups into smaller, shorter sets than you would think. Same thing for that ring muscle up, right? If this is your first time attempting a ring muscle up, preserve that grip during the pull-ups and the chest to bar as well. For the snatches, try and keep those unbroken. This is the noise of the workout, not really the meat and the potatoes of the workout. So trying to keep that unbroken, trying to find a spot straight out ahead of you to keep that back nice and flat and to push through those legs as much as you can. For the overhead stability, this is going to be of utmost importance. We want to make sure that if we're working on improving our overhead mobility, then take the reps slower and more controlled for those lunges. We want to make sure that we're maybe taking that extra step if needed to pass over the line, because we don't want to have that no rep at the end, because you must complete that full 20-foot increment again. Last tip for you guys, for the lunges, I did the 20-foot increment and then I put the dumbbell down to switch my hands. This gave me a second to give my shoulders a break and then also have that opportunity to switch hands before attacking the next 20-foot increment. As always, we want to make sure that we're having fun and we're cheering along all of our other athletes here today.